Welcoming all our viewers from home and abroad to International Affairs. Today is, of course, Wednesday, the 13th of May. Very important updates coming up here in the month of May, which were scheduled to happen in the month of April. However, it was discouraged due to the war in the Middle East. Interesting topics today as we talk about U.S. President Donald Trump's visit to Beijing to meet his counterpart Xi Jinping, the president of China. Of course, he is not going to be traveling alone. In his travel, he will be taking along the Tesla CEO Elon Musk, as well as Fox News host Sean Hannity and NVIDIA chairman and CEO Jensen Huang. A lot of business leaders are following U.S. President Donald Trump in this trip towards China. It is important to understand what these implications will have in the war with U.S. and Iran. Before I get into the discussion, let me introduce my panel. Here in the studio, I have Professor Abdullah Al Mamoun. He, of course, studies and teaches economics as well as area studies from various locations from around the world. I welcome you onto the program. I also believe it's been a long while since I've seen you on this very stage.
Yeah, quite a
Thank
long.
you for being here with us. As well, we have our geopolitical correspondent, Norman Floyd Barnes from Washington, District of Columbia. I want to begin with Norman. As I was saying, Donald Trump is not traveling alone. He has a host of business leaders following him into China to meet Xi Jinping. I want to get an initial reaction from you. How do you see this? Because the sides are now saying that the United States administration is stating that their meeting with China will definitely have a big impact regarding the Iran war, whereas Iranian leaders are saying that China shall not break its relationship with Iran, no matter what kind of pressures may be given by the U.S. administration. I want to begin with you, Norman. What are the updates do you have from around the globe? Norman.
Greetings from Washington this morning. Yes, the president is en route to China to meet with the leaders regarding the issues of the world. Right now, the focus of this meeting is to focus on trade, global trade. That's why he's taking these global CEOs. Global trade, Taiwan, obviously with the technology there, and of course, finally, the war in Iran. How can they influence Iran to open up the strait and end this conflict? However, as you stated, China still has a strong relationship with Iran, and I do not see anything from this meeting that will disrupt that. So we are participating and waiting for the outcome of this meeting while we sit here in a pre-recession period with the rise of gas, fuel, food. Everything is going up since yesterday, and we don't see any indications that any price is going to go down. So what we're looking at is we're looking at the basis of a increase in the cost of living here. This is affecting, of course, the United States. It's affecting every country in the world. It's affecting Bangladesh and Iran. Everybody is suffering from this conflict. So hopefully the leaders can come to some terms of how we can comfortably coexist during this period of transition. It is a period of transition. I do not see us going back to anything we had before. The new stabilization will be how do we move forward in the future, and how do we tolerate each other as we move forward, making new opportunities for the future versus going back to old, antiquated ways that are not functional or desirable and does not meet the needs of the people. Everyone is, all the people here in the United States is very concerned about the price of everything. Food has gone up. The numbers gone up last month. The price of gas, the price of energy, the price of anything that involves consumption. So we are anticipating that this meeting will be fruitful for both China and the United States in regards to the economic situation of the world. We are in an energy crisis. Thank you.
Of course, I want to thank Norman, very blatantly put how US President is now moving into China and he may be conducting more military drills inside Middle East. I want to talk about this very issue with Professor Abdullah Al Mamoon. You know, initially this entire issue with Iran began with Operation Epic Fury. It lasted merely 2 months, and afterwards it was a challenge to open the Strait of Hormuz. Once again, named Project Freedom. This time, the use of project instead of operation. However, as per yesterday's news report on NBC's, America's NBC's news agency, they are saying that another operation may be conducted. This time the name would be Operation Sledgehammer if the ceasefire were to fail. And according to this report, it would depend on the talks they will have with Beijing this very week. How do you see this? Because America's tactics have not changed. The pressure campaign is still ongoing.
Yeah, therefore it is calling the Iran trap for Trump. It's a very interesting word nowadays used in the academia as well as in the media. And probably it will be one of the events from where Donald Trump will look forward to get rid of this trap. But the way you have said that China, whether they would support the new attack to Iran or invasion again, that is a big question. But let me give you a bit of different perspective what Norman has brought, and I'm very happy to see that the way he kicked off, bringing the US internal issues, that is excellent. And in fact, he unmarks the real issues from the ground. I appreciate. But if you look at it from the Chinese perspective and the question you have asked me,
right,
in response to that particularly, so you see 80% of Chinese oil solely comes from Iran. Secondly, they are now using their reserve. They are exploring options from Russia and Brazil. They are also using renewable energy, but end of the day for China, it is very important to open the Strait of Hormuz. This is the big question.
right.
And if you follow Chinese newspaper, particularly published from Beijing, they are giving a clear message before Trump visit that international rule of law should be followed. And the message perhaps is that US have violated the international rule of law, having the attack to Iran associated or somehow invited by Israel. This is what I'm getting from all the newspapers last couple of days when they're writing about Trump visit, that there should be international rule of law and everyone should obey that. And they believe that US disregarded that law along with Israel. Secondly, I think to trade with USA and China would be a very important part of the discussion. But I would like to focus this visit mostly from the political perspective,
Right.
where Trump will try to have something to satisfy his people that the cost they are bearing because of the Iran war, that has been compensated through his visit in China. But I believe it will be a daunting task. For why? Because in any case, China would not allow the closure of the Strait of Hormuz anymore. So therefore, they will not at all will agree with Trump's invitation or maybe another wave of attack in Iran. And don't forget that the United States government last few months particularly, because of their huge attention to Iran war, they are not looking at the Taiwan issues.
Right.
And Trump, on the other hand, never has exposed his position whether he is in favor of annexation of Taiwan with China or as an independent state Taiwan as an independent state. So this is a big issue in front of the two leaders now, and I think that will be one of the yardstick in this discussion. First one is Iran and Israeli-USA war, and second one is Taiwan. These are the two factors would be guiding the other issue related to trade, economy, investment, and as you said, that big businessmen are going, media tycoon are going, but all will depend on these two issues. Now, if you just take one step behind,
Sure.
Last couple of weeks, in fact, USA is trying to, or Trump is desperately trying to sign a treaty. And if you look at Iran's position, initially it has been devaluated, not well read perhaps. And I think Norman and I also talked perhaps a couple of days or a couple of weeks back when just the war broke out, that US people never being addressed by the president that why am I going for this,
Yes.
and what would be
Right.
the outcome, particularly for the people. There may be outcome for the people, for Israeli people, in terms of their security, in terms of their regional influence, etc., etc. But US people has never been addressed clearly, and there has been so many narratives developed by himself, by his security secretary, by the international secretary, but no clear message has been given to the US people. Although I think the better message was given by Bush when he attacked Iraq even the last time, but Trump, I think, was unprepared and he jumped into the war invited by Israel. And when he is visiting China with a big hope, on the one hand, to open the Strait of Hormuz because China needs oil. On the other hand, the question you put at the very first instance, that I don't really see that relationship with China and Iran would even some extent change due to a Trump visit. What could happen that the agreement or the ceasefire that is continuing,
Right.
but the agreement we are looking forward, I think it is, I should not say last chance, but it will be a good missed opportunity if Trump can convince Xi to influence Iran to sign an agreement so that he can get rid of this Iran trap.
Of course, very beautifully stated by Professor Mamoon here in the studio. As you raise the issue of the common American and how they will be facing regarding the situation that the president has created. Now, I want to ask Norman this very question. Before starting for the Chinese trip, Donald Trump took to addressing the media. Of course, before his departure, he said that the Americans' financial situation was not even a little bit of motivating factor for him to reach a deal to end the war. He said not even a little bit. So he is stating that he does not think about this very issue. Trump continued to say, I don't think about Americans' financial situation. Now, when the leader of the nation says such down these lines, I want to ask Norman, we've been talking about the economic issues in the United States, how a bag of chips can cost very high, how even at the petrol station you have a higher margin of buying gallons of fuel. So I want to ask you, Norman, this kind of commentary from the US president is dangerous for US Americans. How do you see this, as he said this as the war stretches into the 11th week?
Yes, this is another tipping point, another example exactly how the administration feels about the people. The situation here is very bleak in terms of the average person, but the president and his administration are not average people. They work on a different level, a different scale, and they are immune to the daily costs of living here in the United States. However, when you make comments like he made about the not concern about the American people, not concerned about the current inflation, not concerned about the standards, it gives another indication coming November how people will respond. Because of technology and because of AI, people memory is such that they are now trying putting pieces together. They putting together exactly what's going on. We mentioned the people were never given the opportunity to respond or even understand why we got into this conflict. But they do understand the results. The results is basically they're being penalized. Not just the United States, every country, every person, everybody's being penalized for this conflict between these two nations. This is causing a lot of people to think about their options. We're talking about alternatives. If I can buy something cheaper from someone else, why should I engage with you? So people are not taking this as I must swallow and digest what I'm giving. They're looking at alternative. Even here in the United States, we're looking at alternatives in terms of how we live our life, how do we spend our money, where the money goes. And there's questions about this $29 billion bill that is emanating from the cost of this war. Questions are coming up about that. We feel that that number is low, very low, and actually may be deceptive. So money's been spent, but we do not see, the people do not see any benefits from that. So this is going to take a heavy toll coming up for the midterm elections. So this is something that is developing every day, is reinforcing some people idea exactly how the administration feels about its people. And on the other sense, it also gives an opportunity for people who wants to take advantage of this, increase prices on everything, take advantage of, and create this fear-mongering situation that, the whole world is falling, everything is dying, we're this and that, and they're taking advantage of that. So we're watching to see exactly how this meeting is going to come to terms with China. And at the same time, we're looking at exactly on a domestic scale, how do we move forward? How do we exist? How do we combat these issues about increased inflation, the cost of living? So this is going to be a very interesting time this fall. And do not be surprised if you see a complete flip in terms of legislation, more pressure put on the congressmen about trying to make changes and get some answers exactly why we're in this mess.
Right. Very specific analysis regarding the financial woes of common Americans and how it may all change this November before the midterm elections. Even last week, we have seen that the estimated cost of this war was at 25 billion, and today it is being reported as 29 billion. Even while Congressman Ed Case, the U.S. Democratic congressman, said yesterday that the United States has lost 39 aircraft since the start of the war. That itself should mount to a lot of expenditures to come to book. With that being said, it's time to take a short commercial break. Afterwards, we see how situation at 10 Downing Street is looking just in a matter of 24 hours. Ladies and gentlemen, do stay tuned on this program. Hello and welcome to International Affairs, and my name is Shamsul Alam Pantha.
I don't see an easy resolution to this because every slight deviation from the plan,
opening an open war conflict with them,
testing nuclear missiles,
Russia's announcement of these supposedly successful testing,
special and exclusive footage that is being played on SATV screen,
Really coming to terms with Hamas.
Damage estimated between this entire issue.
President Trump is expected to hold bilateral talks.
preserving biodiversity and tackling climate change.
We cannot protect the planet before we negotiate peace.
Where is it going? Is it understanding the needs of its people before the needs of this global world?
For China to come to agreement.
They will face better projects.
with President Xi of China and President Lee of South Korea.
Trump's White House that is in favor of these things.
Simply not enough action being taken to address the problem of fossil fuels.
What their plan initially is towards the Caribbean, a place that has been met with two types of disasters.
Bangladeshi students at the same level of opportunity internationally and domestically.
International Affairs. Watch every Sunday to Thursday at 2 p.m. only on SATV and SATV Digital. Hello and welcome to International Affairs, and my name is Shamsul Alam Pantha.
I don't see an easy resolution to this because every slight deviation from the plan
Opening an open war conflict with them.
Testing nuclear missiles.
Russia's announcement of these supposedly successful testing
Special and exclusive footage that is being played on SATV's screen.
Really coming to terms with Hamas.
Damage estimated between this entire issue.
President Trump is expected to hold bilateral talks
Preserving biodiversity and tackling climate change.
We cannot protect the planet before we negotiate peace.
Where is it going? Is it understanding the needs of its people before the needs of this global world?
For China to come to agreement.
They will face better projects.
with President Xi of China and President Lee of South Korea.
Trump's White House that is in favor of these things.
Simply not enough action being taken to address the problem of fossil fuels.
What their plan initially is towards the Caribbean, a place that has been met with two types of disasters.
Bangladeshi students at the same level of opportunity internationally and domestically.
Welcoming our viewers back onto this program. We were, of course, discussing Donald Trump's trip towards Beijing to meet Xi Jinping, as well as the financial situation of common Americans. Right now, we will follow up on a story that have began yesterday from 10 Downing Street. The fourth junior minister in the United Kingdom resigns as the British Premier. Keir Starmer is facing growing calls for resignation. Of course, the resignations came as almost 90 Labour MPs urged the Prime Minister either to step down immediately or to draw up a timeline for leaving office. I want to ask Professor Abdullah Al Mamoon. Wes Streeting is the Secretary for the Health Ministry, and he seems to be having a crunch meeting as we speak in the studio with Keir Starmer. Some people are, of course, urging that he may be coming in as the next Prime Minister. Still early to say. But how you reckon this will counter in with the issues of the United Kingdom? Because, of course, a couple of days, if not weeks ago, we've seen the King Charles III traveling to the United States. And, of course, the commentary regarding Iran and Keir Starmer, it was such Donald Trump saying that he only offered help when we won the war. So I want to ask you how you see Keir Starmer's position. I believe that there will be some kind of decision coming out end of this week, because last weekend we've seen the local elections, Labour Party losing out a lot of seats. How do you see
1,400 seats, 1,400 seats a lot. But before that, if you look at UK's economy, even before the outbreak of the Iran war, the economy was dying. Particularly, I think, you see, I follow UK due to my legacy of higher studies. I still have interest on, and I can, when I was saying 10 Downing Street, I can see, I can visualize the street. I went there for the first time and excitement, etc. But the whole country was dying economically even before the Iran war. Particularly, borrowing cost increased due to the inflation, which Keir Starmer's government were not able to reduce. And secondly, that higher inflation led to the mortgage price higher, and eventually the food price also increased. So it's a very vicious economic circle that was going on in the society, and at least 80% people were affected, as the data reveals from various sources, particularly from leading UK media. So that was the economic situation and social condition of UK in last couple of years. And secondly, That has impacted to the result of the local government elections, where Labour Party lose almost 1400 seats, if I'm not wrong, and subsequently they did very bad in Wales and Scottish Parliament election. Therefore, the pressure that was mounting only because of the economic reasons, it has been sandwiched because of the local government result as well as Scottish Parliament and Scottish and Wales result.
Right.
And we know that 100 MPs threatened, 80 resigned, and till now perhaps I know that 4 ministers, including one of the youngest ministers, he has also resigned.
Right.
And but still Starmer is also still holding the streak and saying that I will continue my ruling. But reality tells, from my previous experiences, looking at, I think in last 6 years, he will be the 7th prime ministers to go. If I'm not wrong,
Right.
but
The
around
calculation
that,
is like
around that. So it's kind of a not drama, really a circus going on. And unfortunate that Labour Party came to the power after a long time. And when everybody, particularly the Labour supporters who were out of the power for many years, they thought that under the leadership of Keir Starmer, the UK would shine and Labour Party would be in power, solving real issues, addressing the education system, international relations, etc. But if you look at two perspectives, one is their long-time international ally. Of course, Trump is very unpredictable, a leader. Perhaps Norman could focus more on that. But still, Keir Starmer really, from the very beginning, were not able to switch on the relationship that could excel. The intervention was made by the visit of their king. Some exemptions has been made, particularly on the field of the trade, a few beers and etc. But that injection of little tax redemption and the flow of trade to US, it didn't contribute much to the internal economy. So on the one hand, and also his decision in terms of Iran, in some extent I found him naive. Where to go? He was not able to fix the destination.
An indecision to say.
Let's say, if you take the example of Germany and their current chancellor, he has taken a clear position that I'm not with it. Whatever the cost, whatever amount the soldier you reduce, whatever happened, but this is my current position. But he failed to take that international position as well, and internally he was suffering. So what I'm trying to argue that internally and externally, Keir Starmer perhaps is not successful to be in power anymore. Thereby, the pressure would mount from today afternoon, perhaps after that meeting, what you said, and I can see the end of another era of another prime minister.
Of course, brilliantly said by Professor Mamoon. I want to ask Norman, in your last statements regarding Keir Starmer, of course, yesterday we were talking about this very issue. The number of those opposing was down to 70. Now it has increased up until 90. And of course,
90.
And Keir Starmer is trying to getting on with the governance, and he's trying to defy the calls for him to go. How do you see this? 10 Downing Street, very important place in world politics as well. How do you see this? The cat is still being fed, the Downing Street cat, on other news, but I want to get your opinion on this very matter. So many prime ministers to go in such a less time. How do you see this?
Well, it appears that history is repeating itself. We should take a lesson to what is coming. Act One. This situation is coming to a period of a somewhat a conclusion. Starmer's administration and him are planning their exit, the exit strategy. There's very, I don't say it's not possible, but it's almost impossible for them to maintain any type of leadership role in the current situation. So the best option is the option of how do they leave with some form of dignity, because right now there are going to be challenges. Actually, there's a challenge scheduled for today on whether or not he should be removed. There's been calls for him in his party to put his resignation in. And the king is scheduled to do his speech today.
Right.
So I would assume after that, you should hear some news from number 10 Downing Street regarding the status of the current prime minister.
Of course, that was important coming from Norman Floyd Barnes. Of course, the king will outline some of the government's planned new laws and for the next parliamentary session and beyond. However, the question remains whether Keir Starmer will be there to carry on these new laws into the legislation. It's time to take a short commercial break. However, we realize that the entire world situation is going towards uncertainty. And of course, when there is uncertainty, the markets cannot stay stable. With that fact being stated, it is time to go for a short commercial break.
Missiles.
Russia's announcement of these supposedly successful testing.
Special and exclusive footage that is being played on SATV screen.
Really coming to terms with Hamas.
Damage estimated between this entire issue.
President Trump is expected to hold bilateral talks.
Preserving biodiversity and tackling climate change.
We cannot protect the planet before we negotiate peace.
Where is it going? Is it understanding the needs of its people before the needs of this global world?
For China to come to agreement,
They will face better projects.
With President Xi of China and President Lee of South Korea.
Trump's White House that is in favor of these things.
Simply not enough action being taken to address the problem of fossil fuels.
What their plan initially is towards the Caribbean, a place that has been met with two types of disasters.
Bangladeshi students at the same level of opportunity internationally and domestically.
International Affairs. Watch every Sunday to Thursday at 2 p.m. only on SATV and SATV Digital. Hello and welcome to International Affairs, and my name is Shamsul Alam Pantha.
I don't see an easy resolution to this because every slight deviation from the plan,
Opening an open war conflict with them.
testing nuclear missiles,
Russia's announcement of these supposedly successful testing.
Special and exclusive footage that is being played on SATV screen.
really coming to terms with Hamas.
Damage estimated between this entire issue.
President Trump is expected to hold bilateral talks.
preserving biodiversity and tackling climate change.
We cannot protect the planet before we negotiate peace.
Where is it going? Is it understanding the needs of its people before the needs of this global world?
For China to come to agreement,
They will face better projects.
With President Xi of China and President Lee of South Korea.
Trump's White House that is in favor of these things.
Simply not enough action being taken to address the problem of fossil fuels.
What their plan initially is towards the Caribbean, a place that has been met with two types of disasters.
Bangladeshi students at the same level of opportunity internationally and domestically.
International Affairs. Watch every Sunday. We proceed on to the last segment of International Affairs here in the studio. I must also thank you, Norman Floyd, for joining us on this broadcast. He has been, of course, disconnected. One of the topics I got out of the entire discussion today is, of course, related to China as well as Taiwan, as the Chinese side opposes US-Taiwan military ties ahead of this expected trip. The Taiwanese opposition parties members were seen visiting in mainland China just a couple of weeks ago as well. And the arms sale that we've seen over the last 6 months towards Taiwan, it only is showing us a time where China and Taiwan may choose to confront one another. Of course, historically saying there are policies on both sides that they seem different. China believes that under the one China policy, that island nation of Taiwan is theirs, where Taiwan believes that after their independence, they are a sovereign nation. And this is where the conversation can change. I want to ask you, how do you see this, especially because US President is going to be landing in China? We don't really see that kind of geopolitical moves happening between the two giants of the world.
You see, explaining Taiwan's situation in relation to China is always very complex. As you said, there's on the one hand, it appears as an independent state, but with the one China policy, they believe it is their land and it has to be annexed and it should be run by the Chinese government as it is with their mainlands. But the issue is, if you look at the position of Taiwan and then the Philippines, it is very important area for both US and the US ally in the Pacific. And in having that strategic issues, US will always have their interest on Taiwan. But if you look at Trump's administration last few months, they didn't really clearly reveal about their position in terms of Taiwan. And as you said, when there was a tension going on between China and Taiwan last couple of weeks particularly, I rarely found any statement even from US government or Trump administration in relation to Taiwan and the current tension going. But one thing, coming back to the visit of Donald Trump to China, it will be one of the hot topics, as I said, along with Iran, to be discussed. And they will prioritize that US stop providing arms, signing contracts, joint military moves, and etc., etc. And as much as they can gain from this visit of Trump, with a trade-off, maybe with the facilitating their agreement with Iran, that will be a very interesting issue. On the other hand, if you just take as it is, as you said, that whether the possibility of a third war, I don't see that it would escalate very quickly to that level, particularly under the current world situation. There are so many fronts have been opened by Americans, and Trump is no way able to settle down any of the fronts he has opened. And you see, Trump has shaken the whole world, taking a number of wrong decisions on the one hand. On the other hand, he has shaken his own people, and he is disregarding their sorrows and pain and economy, unemployment, house rent, etc. and etc. So I don't really see that another war is outbreaking between China and Taiwan. Rather, the ideal situation for both China and Taiwan would be China would try to seek assistance, try to have words from Trump, at least to some extent stop supporting Taiwan. On the other hand, Taiwan would of course prefer to see at least the existing relationship that should be continued with USA.
Right, very importantly stated, these issues with regards to the United States as well as China and Taiwan. However, I want to focus on a very small issue that had placed yesterday here in Bangladesh as well. As you are a professor at Dhaka University, the Prime Minister Tariq Rahman had visited his very own university campus out after even 35 years of being away. I want to just ask you how you felt, how the environment was yesterday.
Oh, it was electric. You see, first of all, the Prime Minister of the country visiting, and secondly, most significant was issue was he walked from our Senate auditorium to the second event venue, which was the main event at the university, because that event covenanted, it was University Grants Commission event, and they just hired our auditorium to organize that event. But the second one, his meeting with the youth, young student, or our student, was the main university event. And he started walking from the Senate auditorium to the social science building. It's my faculty. And it appears to me that he's not just walking in the street with the youth or with the student. Rather, it appears that he is walking with the full Gen Zs behind him, and he is walking ahead with the full changes of Bangladesh. That was my feelings. And secondly, I think I'm correct providing you this information as well as to your audience. This is the first ever Prime Minister visited Dhaka University just to meet with the student. And if you just look at the videos of that event, there was no stand, no banner, no festoon, nothing else. And he was tough to us that you can't put any banner, festoon. The intention was he wanted to create an environment where students don't feel that he is someone special. Rather, he insisted us to create an environment where students would be very comfortable and they can exchange their views with him very comfortably. And perhaps you have seen there was no decorum in the event. He just came in, got into the chair, and he said, okay, let's start. And I was the moderator of the event. He spoke for 1 minute, then I moderated for a few minutes, in fact. And then we went for the question and answer session. And you see, most of the questions came to him was not directly related to his capacity as a Prime Minister related to subject. But interestingly, he said that, am I able to respond to your question well? But I personally found he has demonstrated profound knowledge on various subjects as a Prime Minister, which I think boosted the whole audience, 150 students present there, as well as the university young teachers and administrative members. And particular focus was given from the student to academic-industry relationship. And he then called upon his education advisor, Mahdi Amin, to spoke on details on that. And we saw that government is working on that with the number of companies to increase or to be acquainted or to be familiar with the internship or the placement. You started in US, you know, and it started in UK. I know that, but this is not happening in Bangladesh officially. Maybe it's kind of exchange of agreement between two universities and one companies. And that has been discussed. Then research fund, and he highlighted that we like to see Dhaka University as a center of excellence to provide research outcome to the government in policy formations, and I'll be happy to accept. And then discussion went on disaster management, science and technology, data science. Oh, another important issue came out, the employment and the government's thought. He elaborated that. And overall, if you ask me to evaluate the event, I would say that first of all, this is historic in terms of the own son of the Dhaka University. He visited the university after 35 years. Secondly, his walk from the Senate to the main venue of the event. As I said, that it seems like he is leading the Gen Z as well. And thirdly, the discussion session was very informal, thereby students were fearless. Truly speaking, I mean, even me, as the moderator, was feeling very casual, because when you see your Prime Minister on the stage and you are moderating, even I know you are a very good moderator.
Thank you.
You moderate very well, but sometimes if you interview Prime Minister, definitely there will be some shakiness, some tidbits between. But if there is no podium, no banner, no festoon, no photo of the Prime Minister, perhaps you will feel good that he's down to the art. And you see, the message he has given, probably we don't have time, the message he has given to the youth that Tariq Rahman is not a Prime Minister sitting here, rather he is Prime Minister of yours and sitting here to listen to you, to solve the issues and lead the country well for you.
Of course, thanking you, Professor Abdullah Al Mamoon. Of course, the Prime Minister, in recent times, we have not seen a Prime Minister of his regard trying to reduce the distance between the people and that a very honorable seat. I thank you for your time and your patience in answering so many questions regarding local and international issues as well, for your valuable insights and your time. Thanking Norman Floyd Barnes from Washington District of Columbia for providing the perspectives and point of views from the US side as well. Finishing off today's international affairs by stating today is 13th May. On this day in history in 1981, in St. Peter's Square in the Vatican City, Pope John Paul II was shot and wounded in an apparent assassination attempt. With that being said, I'm signing off on International Affairs.